Awesome. Hey, Derek, how's it going?
Hey, doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here. You've had some big changes in the last year with life, and I'm excited in your company, and I'm excited to hear more about what you guys are working on and thinking about.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the Nextracker acquisition, and a lot of growth within the company and new
Mhm.
features and team members, and it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's really exciting. I think it's a really great fit for you guys. I think especially with the stuff that you like working on the innovation side, I can't think of a better partner for you guys.
Yeah,
So,
I tell people Dan was really the one who talked me into it, and he's backed up his word, man. They're a really innovative company.
mhm,
Um, and what's kind of cool is if you think about it, they actually build the world's largest robot. So it kind
crazy.
of fit right into our world when it comes to like hardware
Mhm.
plus intelligence equals value to the customer. So we're pretty aligned on that.
That's really cool. I had fun at RA Plus seeing things in person, so that was pretty awesome. Well, it's awesome. I wanted to talk about kind of that intersection with innovation between solar infrastructure and field intelligence. Back in the day, I spent a lot of time at Cypress Creek and Miller Brothers on the field side of things. I spend most of my days now on compliance and cybersecurity, but definitely want to understand like what's the vision on how AI and automation is going to change operations the next 3 to 5 years. Like, I think there's a lot of opportunity here, and it's really exciting. It feels like the old way was always really inefficient, right? Like you are always just like, there's got to be better ways to do things. So,
Yeah, I think with AI or robotics, I don't know if anybody knows how fast it's all going to go. But
mhm,
man, I was just using like the new Grok app, and they just announced like all these new features, and uh,
mhm,
make a movie with a picture immediately now, and I think all this stuff's coming faster than I anticipated.
yeah,
Um, but I think what you want to do is get all of these data streams together. And I think the big data stream that was missing, or at least, when I was in your shoes, I was doing asset management too. And I'm like, man, it's kind of weird. There's no cameras on the site, or like I can't.
mhm,
And so we were
yeah,
operating in this world of like just looking at the digital side of things, or you had to send somebody out in the field to take a picture,
yeah,
or it's a 30,000-foot drone flyover. And it's like we're just beating around the bush of the actual stuff.
yeah.
Really, just from my field experience, I was like, there's a lot to be known there. And so whether it's the robot, the Ranger, now that we call it with Nextracker, cruising
Mhm,
around, pictures of everything, like the context really makes the data come to life. And so, putting cameras in the field and leveraging computer vision,
mhm,
which computer vision is an amazing technology, but you have to be close enough to get the right pixelation for it to actually work. And that's what kind of makes the robot magical, is that we get really high fidelity imagery, and we can train computer
mhm.
models to digest those things and help the workforce out to address issues earlier and more precise with their bill of materials and estimates of how long it's going to take. And now everybody's got context, whether it's an asset manager or the O&M guys, or how
Mhm.
to make decisions. A lot of it's context, and that's really what we're providing to the customers.
I love that. I had a site in North Carolina that was just had continuing underperformance and no one could figure it out digitally, right? Like in the input we had. And you went and did a site visit and you're like, oh, there is an ivy plant that's actually like
Yeah,
growing around like the steel frame and like that's causing the problem, right? And it's just I don't know, I feel like I've lived those examples of kind of the missing link so often.
that's a great example. Yeah, a lot of people are like, well, what are you going to see when you're out there? And
Mhm.
probably 80% of the stuff that we found, I didn't even know about, honestly, because I don't think anybody's ever gathered this much data from the field. So we're still a
Yeah.
little bit of uncharted territory, and different, whether it's the
Mhm.
ivy, or there's sheep on site with the wire. There's always like, it's really random stuff, but that's just how
Yeah.
nature is. These things are out in the middle of nowhere. I
Yeah.
don't know what's going to happen. It could have been wind, sand blowing, new plants on site you didn't know about. It's really a lot of random stuff, mechanical failures. Man, so many issues I can't even talk about that are you would never even think about. And so I always tell everybody, I'm like, just put it out there for a year and you'll be surprised at what you find out.
Yeah, we saw a solar site in Utah built next to a dairy, and they had soiling on the modules and just kind of a whole different weird pattern, because when the wind picked up with the dairy, like you just had this different sediment that, would blow through. And it was just it's true though. Like there's just so much that you just don't realize that's unique to the environment of the sites. So
yeah, they're really microclimates, and they're places nobody's really lived, so you wouldn't know, what would happen. Great example.
Yeah. So with the work you did on site and the robotics there, and now your work at Nextracker, like what lessons are carrying over? Like what is your day-to-day now? Like what are you thinking about most days?
Yeah, really. A lot of my goal is keep the executive team informed of what we're doing. They're pretty cool. They let us, do what we need to do to take care of our customers. I think overall, like our number one alignment is like customers come first. And if you stay focused on that, then everything kind of falls in place. But really figuring out how to leverage. They're global. They have a lot of scale. They have a lot of resources. So kind of figuring out how to work with those resources to advance the speed in which we develop products and sell them and deploy them. There's some interesting things on manipulating the tracker to drive the robot, or leveraging communication systems and infrastructure on site to make our lives easier. So how do we stay, we're really small compared to how big Nextracker is. So how do we kind of stay in our world while leveraging the larger infrastructure is really my focus.
That's awesome. I love hearing like the positive side of acquisitions, and the great alignment is always such a good feel good story. That's awesome. So one thing you talk a lot about, or you talked before about in other interviews, is decision intelligence in field operations. Can you tell us more about that? And I think everyone wants to know, like, are we going to get solar O&M cheaper? Are we going to make this more efficient? And I don't know, it's just such an interesting philosophy to think about.
Yeah, I think the standard way has been, all right, maybe it's a 400 megawatt site, so you're going to put 4 people out there. But also, you've been out to these sites, and if you're 2 people managing 200 megawatts, it's intimidating. That's a lot. It's really overwhelming. I think it's pretty stressful for these folks to have that level of responsibility and be held accountable for that and say, hey, these 40 acres over here and hundreds of thousands of solar panels and inverters and combiner boxes, you're in charge of all of this and go figure it out. Yeah. And so I tell people, our robot's it's just a tool that hopefully people don't overthink it, that this robot and the AI. Look, just send it out there, let it go pinpoint what you need to work on, organize and prioritize those. A broken panel could mean a lot of different things. Yeah. Maybe it's an issue we need to stop other panels from breaking. Maybe it's a one-off. Maybe that panel can start a fire. Maybe it's a quality defect. But knowing the difference and how to react to that is really what it's all about. How fast do I need to do it? And so you can manage your resources and plan them. And maybe I want to take more pictures of it and investigate a little bit further. All that stuff can be done remotely, and put those. Now you can actually manage 200 megawatts with a couple of guys. Where before I thought it was really overwhelming to say, hey, why don't you go out there, walk around, look at this drone report that's tough to digest and figure out what's urgent or not urgent too. I've been in that situation where it's like, oh, there could be 100 things wrong with this site. And so, I just think it's a good tool for these folks on site to use. Hopefully that changes the business model. I always, there's also, and this too, when you're on the site, let's say you find something that's interesting. It takes a lot of resources to go dig into that and figure out, is this a issue, or okay, let's inspect 200 of them. Now you got to fly in experts. And I used to be one of those people that like fly me across the country to go look at something. I'm like, why do I have to? There's nobody else between here and there that can go look at this and take pictures.
Right.
Get that information directly to experts without putting them to the side. And that's kind of how you scale this industry and maintain quality, over time.
Yeah, I love that. I think field techs are just overwhelmed, right? And they want to do better and do more. It's just oftentimes they don't have great resources, or just there's not enough hours in the day to do all of the things.
Well, it gets paralyzing.
Yeah.
When it's overwhelming like that, and then eventually they leave. And I always tell everybody, I'm not a car guy. I'm like, I know everything about solar, but I don't know about cars. But I'm like, you could open up a hood of a car and I could look at it. Doesn't mean I'm not going to know what's wrong with it. So we're also putting, it's the really qualified, experienced people aren't the people on these sites anymore. They're brand new. And you can go walk around, look at a solar system all day long. It doesn't mean you're going to know what's wrong with it.
Yeah.
So we've got to find another way to get expertise on the site and empower these folks to make an impact when they're on site and actually fix things and make a difference.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because you can have really great, well-meaning folks on a site, but they don't know, they need to phone a friend often to figure it out. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I know you're doing a lot of work on the SIA O&M group. You're kind of front row there on industry trends. What do you think some of the biggest pain points solar operators are seeing today? Like, how is the industry responding? Like, what are you hearing on the ground most days?
Man, labor and training's a big one. Again, I think a lot of the data we can collect, or if you can have, like, some of our robot operators have gained a tremendous amount of experience all over the country. They've literally spent hundreds or thousands of hours on solar sites and never even been there. So I do think there's a way we can somehow turn that into a training program, or help educate them, or get them experience before they go in the field.
Yeah.
So I think training's still a big one. Like I mentioned, if you don't know what you're looking at, or if you don't know what you're doing out there, like I met some guy who's brand new on the site, worked for like the railroad before. And I'm like, man, you're in charge of this 400 megawatt site. That's wild to me. Because you used to have to work up to that, right? Like smaller sites, and eventually you get the big site. And now people are just being thrown out there. So I think really making sure there's high quality people out there. I think we're all battling like labor rates and things like that. But when you look at it, I think the cost of having high quality people on the site who are well trained and safe out there pays for itself over time. And so now that the industry is, at least the utility side, is stabilizing a little bit, hopefully we can make some growth on that side of the business. And there's some interesting tools in terms of monitoring and AI and field gathering and work order management, and like all that stuff seems to be getting better. I think pricing is creeping up a little bit. So O&M companies actually have a budget to execute on. But it still comes down to training the workforce to maintain these sites, providing good environments and benefits for these folks to keep those jobs long term. So that we can maintain that knowledge in the industry.
It's like you can train someone, but then you lose them, and there went all of that effort and knowledge.
You buy them a truck and you train them, and you get all these tools, and then they leave 3 months later for an extra $1. So we've got to create a better environment for these folks out there, give them tools that make their jobs easier, educate them, make it a career.
I love that. I think that's huge. And that is definitely a different outlook that, I don't know, that's like a welcome shift for me in the industry, to really see a career path. I see that a lot in the control center, right? Where you bring these operators in at a junior level, out of college or whatnot, and, really giving them a qualification card and working them through and giving them the career path. You put a lot of time and energy into operators, and then, they leave, and it's really painful.
Yeah. You want to get your investment back on these folks eventually.
Yeah, definitely. All right. So last question for you, maybe a little bit of a doozy and some future planning here. So putting all these things together, field robotics, AI, like the predictive maintenance, you kind of talked about that, mentioned that a tiny bit, but what does a fully intelligent solar site look like in the near future? And like, what are we missing to actually get there? Like, give us the like Derek vision in 5 years. Like, this is what you hope to see.
Yeah, I would love somebody's got to step up and build a site. And I love Nextracker. They're taking a lot of responsibility for this stuff in terms of infrastructure, but I'd love to see. So I don't have enough money to pull this off, but somebody needs to build the 100 megawatt fully automated site. Like how well, like take all the newest stuff, right? Put it on the site. You're going to need rows that don't have like electrical lines running through them. So the robots, whether they're cleaning robots or veg robots or inspection robots, they can like traverse around. The site's like clean so they can get around everywhere. You're going to need really strong communications. So whether it's, you've got all these devices now. You've got these hail sensors. You've got soiling sensors.
Right.
You've got all these sensors. I'd pack them
Can't
up
be
with
dependent on like one ISP to.
Yeah, I think you need connectivity. I think you need power around the site so all these things can plug in and recharge. And then gather as much data as you possibly can on site. We have our Vantage cam that detects smoke, fire. We're looking at lightning to that. So imagine all the visibility you can have, and then just see how well can we operate this remotely and drive those costs down. But I'm like, I'd love to see that and participate in that. If anybody wants to step up to the plate, like I will lean in heavily on, how efficient and automated can we really make these sites run. I was thinking about there was that show where they're like operating the oil plants and there's like people dying and they're out in the middle of nowhere, and like to maintain those is wild. I think a big thing the solar industry can have is just like how safe these jobs are and these sites long term can be successful careers, and how efficient we could be about operating these plants and keeping them running. So
safety is a big one.
Whoever is, if anybody, if you come across anybody, but we need 100 megawatt futuristic plant, and then go from there. Maybe all this stuff doesn't work or whatever. Figure out the challenges from there, but somebody's got to step up and do that.
I love that. There's a lot there. It'd be really interesting. There's so many layers to it too, like power on site and access to that. Like there's a lot of thoughtfulness that needs to go into actually making that function. So
it blows my mind. You'll go out to these sites and there's no connectivity. Like no cell service. So if you wanted to go work on an inverter, multi-million-dollar piece of equipment at times, the technician can't even use their phones. Like how
we're
is
deploying,
how does that even
we're deploying
happen?
Starlink to a lot of sites right now because the ISP is so unreliable, right? And you're in the middle of nowhere. Like it's so interesting,
We have Starlink on our robot, and you could actually request the robot to drive over to where you are, and you could like log onto its Wi-Fi. But I think that's a huge problem. It's connectivity on these sites. And then all of these sensors, they all have to have their own cellular connection. I think you drive a lot of costs down there. So, I think that's a big problem, but would love the fully automated site. And that's a great question.
That's so cool. Even just thinking about the robot having Starlink, like you think about as a field tech, just filling out your maintenance logs, right? And if you don't have connectivity, you're writing notes down, and then you're like, okay, I get home at 8:00 at night, and I've got to like upload all my notes to all these work orders. Just even like a quality of life, like is so interesting. Do you know what I mean? Like
documentation. I always tell everybody, like if I was a tech, I'd have the robot just follow me around and create all my work orders and like do all of the. Nobody's done it yet, but like if I was going to go work on an inverter, I'd have the robot record the whole thing, fill out all my work orders, send all my reports in. You never even have to do anything.
That would be amazing. Like that'd be incredible. I love it. And that doesn't seem too far away either, when you're looking at all this. All right. So if you are in the market for a fully automated 100 megawatt site, there's some vision here for doing it. I love it. Awesome. Well, Derek, thank you so much. It's so nice to get a window into like the really cool things that people are doing and are thinking about. I think it's just so awesome. And the future of all the things we're doing is going to be built on this creativity and what you're bringing to the table. So thank you for all your hard work.
Yeah, really appreciate the opportunity, and I'll see you in the middle of October here.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Bye.